you're gonna be. It's that place in the middle where you don't know where you're gonna be. I find this very unsettling. I hate it in flux. Every time I'm in flux, I feel like it's a lesson in faith and patience from God. And I keep telling God I've had all the lessons I need. I've learned faith and patience, but the lessons keep coming. I've had a pretty steep learning curve over the last few months, and over the last few weeks, if you've been reading Philippians. I've been reading Philippians, and I keep coming away with three main concepts out of Philippians: the asking and the receiving, the giving, and the crediting. And the asking and the receiving have always been the most difficult for me. Always. As long as I can remember, I've had a hard time asking for help. I remember when I was back in college, I went to church on Wednesday night, and I had no gas in my car at all. No gas. And no plan. I was just going to church, and I didn't really know how I was going to get home. I thought maybe I would ask somebody if I could borrow a few dollars, because believe it or not, back then, a couple dollars would get you a couple days of driving. I thought more likely I was just going to get in the car and start driving home and pray for the best, knowing that it was very possible that I would run out of gas on the way home and I would have to call my parents. And see, back then, I'm showing my age, back then, there were no cell phones. I was going to have to knock on someone's door and ask to use their phone so I could call my parents to bring me money or a gas can. And they would say, again? Because I was in college. But they would bring it to me. So I knew there was a risk. And there I was at church, wondering how I was going to make it home, if I was going to make it home. And I wanted to ask someone for $2, but I couldn't do it. I just couldn't ask. After church was over, this woman that I didn't even know walked up to me and she said, "You're going to think I'm completely crazy, but I have to give you this." And she gave me $5, $5 bill. And I said, "Thank you, God." Because she didn't know why she had to give it to me. She told me, "I don't know why I'm doing this." And I was like, "I know why." So even though I couldn't ask, God provided blessings for me, despite the fact that I couldn't ask for them. Now fast forward 20 years later or so, I still can't ask for help. Why can't I ask for help? Why can't I call my neighbor, my friend, 2 doors down and ask for help when I find myself in my house alone with 4 little girls under the age of 7 and no toilet paper? If you're a parent or a babysitter, you know why this is a problem. But I can't call my friend and ask her for something so simple. Because if I call her and ask her for toilet paper, she's going to know that I don't have it all together, that I'm disorganized, that I'm incapable and inefficient. Somehow, forgetting to buy toilet paper escalates into me being inefficient and incapable. I have a friend. She moved from an apartment and a storage unit into a house. And at the time, her 3 boys were all under the age of 10 years old. And her husband broke his collarbone. She told no one. She didn't ask for help. Over the course of a few weeks, she and her 3 boys moved all of their belongings from their apartment and their storage unit into their house all by themselves, rather than asking for help. And when I found out, I was upset. And I told her so. I said, "You took away my opportunity to give to you. You do things for me and for everybody else all the time, and I had an opportunity to give to you, and you didn't allow me to have it." Me, the girl who won't ask for toilet paper, is upset with her because she didn't give me an opportunity to serve her. What a hypocrite, right? Why do I do that? I know when I do that. I do that when I pay attention to people who think I'm less. And unfortunately, there are always going to be those people. There are people who, when they see something that I do or something that I've said, they're going to look at me and they're going to judge me and they're going to think of me not as different, but as wrong. Instead of empathizing with me or accepting me, they're going to spend the time processing how I could have done it differently, how I could have done it better. And different, of course, means how they would have done it. So I know that this is a possibility with everyone I encounter. So it's a risk every time you open up and let someone see what I call your authentic self, your real self, all of your weaknesses and your failings. So I joined a UMW circle here at FOMCO. And I knew, as I got to know these ladies, that I was going to be taking this risk. But as we got together month after month and we began to share with each other, we shared prayer requests and praise reports. And we shared food, always shared the food. But I got a little bit more comfortable and I began to share my weaknesses. I began to be more open and authentic with these ladies. And what I found was common ground. What I found were mentors and prayer partners. What I found was support and encouragement and acceptance and empathy. So the asking and the receiving is getting a little easier. But it was never brought home more than earlier this year, I was recovering from surgery in May. One hospital night stretched into 4. 2 different families took in my kids for 4 nights with no notice at all. The praise team and my ladies' circle brought me food. Of course, they brought us food. And they took me for rides when I needed to go somewhere. But most of all, they provided encouragement. And I look back at my prayer journal from that time when I was recovering from surgery, and of all the things that were happening to me and all the circumstances, I look back at those entries and I see that I've written, Lord, please help me find the fine line between lazy and rest. Because I was feeling guilty about the rest. And that very day, I got a card in the mail from someone in my ladies' circle. And in it, she handwrote a note to me, and she said, don't feel guilty for resting. And I saw that as a direct answer to prayer. The language is identical. The same day I asked the Lord to show me the difference, I get this note of encouragement that specifically uses my language and tells me, don't feel guilty for resting. So I'm feeling a little bit better about the asking and the receiving these days. It's only been a few months since I've needed it, and it's not so strange to me. I think I can still do it.